What would you think of if I said you don't need a perfect life to live a powerful one? See, some of us sit around and well, let me rephrase that. We don't sit around. High achieving women like us never really sit around. Even when we're sitting and look like we're resting, the mind is going a million miles an hour. Am I right? So when I say sitting around, I don't really mean that. I mean, we wait for our life to calm down before we decide to finally show up fully. In other words, we're never really ready, right? But when things are, we think like when things are less messy, less busy, less complicated, then I'll be able to be consistent, disciplined, and have clarity, right? This is the way that it kind of all works out on paper. But we've lived long enough to know that that version of life doesn't exist. And even though we know that, we're aware and we're conscious of it, and we know that life isn't perfect and it's not going to be perfect, but yet we live in a way that plans in perfection to the point where nothing gets executed. Or if it does, in our minds, it's always subpar or less than. Am I talking to anybody here? See, here's the truth. And this kind of came to me this week as I really settled in on Psalm 84. I spend a lot of time in the Word. It's my favorite thing to do. And a lot of time I feel like um, things aren't moving or things aren't progressing. But I've come to learn that the messier my life gets on the outside, the more it exposes how much of God and His Word I allow on the inside of me. So, in other words, am I performing my faith or am I living my faith? And that's a really sobering question. But I've come to learn and get comfortable with the mess. And here's what I want to share with you today in Psalm 84. I literally spent all week in Psalm 84. It's a passage that I find myself in time and time again. It encourages me, it inspires me. There's very little room left to add any more notes to it. So each day this week, I've actually been rewriting it in different versions, and different things stand out to me. And something that has always stood out to me and I found very interesting, but this week it kind of really hit me. God never required a perfect environment to produce a powerful life. If we look at Psalm 84, my favorite verses: Blessed are those whose strength is in you, who have set their hearts on pilgrimage as they pass through the valley of Baca, which means the valley of weeping. They make it a place of springs. They make it a place of springs. Let's not miss where they are. They're in the desert, it's dry. They're in a valley of weeping. That sounds pretty messy to me, but they pass through the valley of Baca and they make it a place of springs. So they didn't leave it how they found it. That's the part that we forget. Psalm 84 says that they passed through the valley and they left springs behind. So the power isn't having it all together. It isn't having the perfect environment. It isn't having the perfect outcome. It's how you walk with God in the middle of it. So this is where I've landed in Psalm 84. You don't need a perfect life to have a powerful one. You just need to stop waiting and start walking. The view looks different when you're moving than when you're sitting still. The environment either changes you or you change the environment. We get to choose. And I choose to look at this Psalm 84 for me as like a holy recalibration. And I like alliteration, so I'm going to say it's a holy celebration. And one thing that I've learned from the time that I came up with the title of my book, to writing my book, to owning that, yeah, I am a beautiful masterpiece. God sees me as his masterpiece only when I'm walking through my mess with him. That's what makes it a masterpiece. That's what makes this life have purpose. That's what makes this life have impact. So I'll leave you again with just that statement. You don't need a perfect life to have a powerful one. I'm owning my beautiful masterpiece of a life. It's pieces together that pieces of a mess together that come beautifully to, I hope, that points back to God and allowing him to use my messy life to reach others for him, to expand his kingdom, not mine. So yeah, you don't need a perfect life to live a powerful one, but you can still have a beautiful life within the mess. And it's all in how you walk with God in the middle of your mess. And if this is something that you want to dig more into, feel free to reach out to me. If you haven't already, get the book, Beautiful Masterpiece. It literally talks through how you get into alignment for your specific assignment, and it's through refinement. Listen, I love alliteration. That's just how it goes. And the book's going to walk you through 4 pillars. The first thing you need to do is define who you really are and how you're really wired. Then discover the gap of where you're out of alignment with who God says you are and how you're wired. So then you can really step into what you've been assigned to right now in this season. See, a lot of us are trying to live this, life reflective of someone else's highlight reel, like their big, powerful moment. We're trying to build a life based on that moment of someone else. And that's not even what God called us to do. Our powerful big moment is a collection of step by step by step, just taking steps with him and walking with him every day. Anyway, define who you really are and how you're wired. Discover where that misalignment is showing up in your life. Then determine the rhythms and the strategies that work for you in the season that you're in right now. And then the last part of the book is do it. How to execute faithfully and obediently. So those are the 4 parts of the book. And then if you even wanted a step further than that, we can talk about how I can coach you through everyday mess, your mindset, your expectations, the systems that are working or not working for you, and the stories that you tell yourself. Anyway, way too long. I wanted to really focus on Psalm 84, that piece of, you know, walking through the valley of weeping, but leaving it not only changed, but also transforms you in the meantime. I hope this helped, and I hope to see you again.